who is Anirudh Garudangiri, Garudangiri from IBM. Annie, how are you today?
Hey, Scarlett. I'm doing good. How about you?
Fantastic. I'm good as well. Thank you.
Cool. Just want to confirm you can see my screen, yeah?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right. To start off, I'm here today to talk about a service improvement program that we ran back in 2015, 2016, the benefits that it brought about for our performance metrics and how it became a part of our continuous improvement program over the last couple of years. To give a bit of context, I'm going to start off with the problem areas, how we were performing, and the driving factors for this particular change. One of the things that came to us from our clients was from their internal employee satisfaction surveys, where technology and technology services were the top causes for dissatisfaction. In addition to this, as a service provider, we were missing out on some critical SLAs like answer speed, time to restore, and customer satisfaction. This exposed us to a significant amount of penalties as well. And coupled with this, legacy hardware and inefficient endpoint monitoring led to a significant amount of call volume coming through the service desk. In terms of performance, we were averaging around 36,000 calls per month, which equated to roughly 0.9 tickets per user per month. We had 25,000 new tickets, 11,000 follow-on calls for an existing ticket. And of this 25,000, we had 11,000 incidents and 14,000 requests per month. What you can see on the right here in these two charts is an overview of how we were performing across 2015 in terms of call volume, ticket volume, and incident volume as well. The driving factors for initiating this program was to improve quality of service, improve end-user productivity by minimizing downtime, and reduction of operational costs. Moving on to how we got there. Sorry. Yep. Moving on to how we got there. So the entire program was completely data-driven. So what we started with was collecting data from our ticketing system, which yielded about 400,000 tickets over a 12-month period. What we realized was that most of this data that we had was completely unstructured. So we developed an internal tool called the Issue Path Analyzer. What we did was we picked up key services and keywords and sub-issue types and plugged it into this issue path analyzer, which basically classified these issues into a level 1 and level 2 category. We put this into our Watson Analytics tenant, and the output from that gave us a drill down on what were the top call drivers, and the cognitive ability of Watson helped us to drill down to second and third level as well. The analysis that came out identified 9 key problem areas with 140 sub-issue types, which contributed to roughly about 50% of our overall incident volume. What this eventually became was an input to our problem management team. So as part of the first tranche, we interlocked with our problem management team, raised 34 problem records, and over a period of 18 months, we raised 41 change records to eliminate these defects. The chart here on the right and the top is a view from our Watson Analytics dashboard, which gave us the different issue types. So you can see issues like access and password, missing software, Outlook email exchange, etc. And the chart here on the bottom is a Pareto on the 9 key top contributing call drivers and the contribution of each of them to the overall volume as well. Moving on what we did with this data that came out was we identified specific issues and deployed changes across the enterprise to reduce this volume from coming through. As an example, talking about Outlook, which is pretty much an application that everybody uses on a daily basis. What we identified was that there were conflicting versions of the Enterprise Vault add-in which was deployed post an Outlook version update. The multiple versions of this add-in was creating a conflict within the application, leading to issues like freezing, crashing, inaccessible archives, etc. So we released a change to clean up the multiple versions and disable the local archive copy downloads. This led to a drastic reduction in the Outlook incident volumes. So where we were trending roughly about 3,000 tickets a month, we dropped down to 470 towards the end of the program. Similarly, for web desktops or virtual machines, one of the things that came to us was the fact that the virtual machines used to cache data locally on the C drive, which led to the C drive getting filled up rapidly. We also identified that some of the base build applications like Outlook, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, etc., which are pretty much a birthright for every user, were missing from the build as well. Two changes were deployed to initiate a preemptive cleanup of the C drive the moment it crossed a particular threshold and incorporate these auto-deployed apps into the base build as well. Similarly, for computer rebuilds, some of the issues that we had, the only break fix that we had available was to rebuild the system. And what we noticed was post the rebuild, some of the locally saved data like profile configurations, printer drive mappings, and maybe, let's say, favorites in terms of whatever was saved in the browser, etc., kept disappearing after the rebuild was completed. So this led to a multiple follow-up calls to the service desk for individual service restoration. So we implemented a change to have a dedicated rebuild queue, to have a pre-rebuild checklist to ensure that all the data was backed up, and a post-rebuild checklist to have some sort of a hypercare available for the users after a rebuild was completed. Moving on, one of the things that also came to light was in terms of Wi-Fi connectivity. So the systems were set up in such a way that the corporate Wi-Fi certificates were not renewed automatically. A change was deployed to ensure that the auto-renewal of certificates kicked in. And we also parallelly decommissioned a third-party connectivity software and moved to Microsoft's OEM connectivity software. Another top call driver was with regards to Microsoft Office. So there were some specific client applications on Microsoft products where the registry keys kept conflicting. This caused applications like Word or PowerPoint to keep crashing, or the client applications to keep crashing. Cleanup patches were deployed to ensure that both the IMS components and the client app components had concurrent registry keys and eliminate this defect from the system. Overall, since the time that we started back in October 15, we were trending roughly about 11,000 incidents a month. And over a period of 1 year, by the time that we closed, we dropped down to about 4,500 incidents a month. The outcome that came out of this program was predominantly in terms of customer satisfaction. So starting off with the baseline from the first quarter of 2015, where we're trending at 78.3%, overall, by the time we closed the program, we had a 17% increase in customer satisfaction. And another key metric that we used to track was customer adequately informed, which is part of our survey. So understanding what issues actually were coming through the service desk and why they were happening allowed the service desk agents to educate the user about what was actually happening in the environment. This helped us to improve this metric as well, with a 19% increase from Q1 2015. The benefits that this brought about to the client was improvement in the customer satisfaction scores, which I've just spoken about, and a 10% increase in NPS, where we closed the Q4 2016 at plus 61.62%. And the reduction in incidents culminated to an overall operational cost saving of roughly about $827,000 a year. From a service desk standpoint, this led to a 38% reduction in the call volume, 85% reduction in penalties that we accrued for customer satisfaction and customer adequately informed in FY 2016 compared to FY 15, and 9,200 hours of productivity savings for the desk, and hence the equivalent FTE reduction as well. Like I mentioned earlier, this was a program that we ran for about 18 months, but this has kind of become part of our continuous improvement cycles across the years. In terms of long-term benefits, this here's a view on how we were trending volume-wise when we started off and how we're trending currently. Overall, till date, we've achieved a 49% reduction in the overall volume. This has also helped us to maintain an all-green scorecard on all our SLAs and SLOs for 21 plus months running. We were also able to release this program scaled across our business unit, yielding similar outcomes with other commercial accounts. In terms of intangible benefits, we were able to deploy additional service channels like chat, chatbot, self-service, and social media support. And it proved to be an impetus for investment in the longevity of the service relationship with our client. This also helped us to renew our service agreement for a 4-year period back in July last year. Now, in this particular chart, you can see there's been an increase from 2019 to 2020. This is attributed to the fact that our client, like most, have moved most of their applications and services to the cloud. So all these projects and migrations kicked in during this period, which led to an increase in volume. But the good thing about this program is it became a continuous cycle of improvement, where any new projects that go into production will have a feedback cycle built in to ensure that any volumes that's coming through to the service desk are picked up right at the project phase itself before it's handed over to BAU. In addition to this fact, a key call out is the increased volume that we saw in the first quarter and second quarter of 2020. Owing to the global pandemic, we had to deploy multiple remote access solutions very rapidly across the first 2 quarters of 2020. But in a period of 3 months, using the insights from this program, we were able to drop significantly and close for the last quarter with roughly about 60,000 calls overall to the services. That's pretty much what I had to cover. I'm happy to answer any questions now, Scarlett.
It looks like we don't have any questions at the moment, but if anyone has any questions, please put them in the questions panel and we'll get to them. Okay, it looks like we have a question. Kevin has asked, what type of customer surveys did you use, NPS multi-questions or a 0 to 10 rating?
We had a combination of both. So we've got a 3-point scale, which goes through as an initial survey, and 10-point NPS score and a 10-point customer satisfaction score as well. And the client adequately informed part is part of our questionnaire. So we have a 10-point questionnaire, which users are requested to fill up.
Okay, so you use like a mix.
Yeah, a mix of all 3. Yeah.
Okay, question from Dan. How many support desk staff do you have?
Currently operating with 170.
Okay.
Compared to 2015, where we had about, I think, 280 back then.
Okay. Mark asks, what metrics are you using to measure success and what was key? Says it sounds like incident reduction was key, but is there anything else?
Yeah, so the program initially started with the percentage of incident reduction quarter on quarter, but the scale release helped us to identify not just for incidents, but overall volume, even including requests as well. As an example, we had a lot of new starters who used to keep calling us for birthright access and setting up accounts, etc. So we re-engineered our process to ensure that the onboarding or joiner, mover, leaver process also became streamlined. So percentage of reduction quarter on quarter, that's one of the metrics that we use to track.
Okay. Another question from Kevin. Is your survey follow triggered when the ticket is resolved or when it's closed?
So there's 2 parts to the survey. One is a post-call survey that happens immediately after the service desk, and one is a post-ticket closure survey. So one survey that gets triggered immediately after the call, and one after the ticket's closed.
Okay. Mark wants to know, is the survey on every incident or request?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Ian's asked, how is your response rate for your surveys and how have you improved it?
We had about 4% response rate initially, but that's increased to roughly about 15% response rate on the surveys currently. It was a bit of a challenge to get to where we are right now, but the clients had internal programs where they incentivized people to take surveys, like giving out free movie tickets for random users, or having like a giveaway every month to drive the improvement in the response rates.
Okay, that seems pretty average with what I've observed in the industry. So you're doing well.
Yeah.
Kevin has said that the problem that they have observed is that since moving platforms, they've noticed a huge decrease in user surveys, even though the survey form is the same. So they're looking to simplify the email into a 1-2-click style. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, that was one of the challenges that came through to us as well. Initially, we had a 22-point questionnaire, which was really long. Nobody actually two parts. One is when the email gets triggered, there's just a 3-point smiley face, like a happy face, a neutral face, and a sad face. That's the one that the user can just click on, and then the survey gets registered. And we give them an option if they want to answer some additional questions. So that way, at least we capture the initial satisfaction rate. And post that, if they choose to, then they can fill in the other 10-point scale and then NPS scale as well.
Okay, that's a really super simple way to make it easy for your customers, and hopefully, you've definitely seen an increase in responses from that, I bet.
Yep.
Celine has asked, was there a significant cost involved in setting up the analytics of data?
Not really. So the issue path analyzer, which we spoke about to structure our unstructured data, was all done in Excel. So no additional licenses or costs that we incurred. It did take a considerable amount of time for us to get it to a high level of accuracy, though, because the first iteration had roughly about a 70% accuracy in the kind of breakdown that the analytics actually offered. But over a period of time, we iteratively improved the accuracy to get to about a 95% confidence rate. But yeah, right now it's plugged in directly to our analytics dashboard, and we're able to get everything directly from the ticketing system itself. And one of the other things that we did was, in terms of structurizing the data that actually went into the tickets, we made it mandatory for selection of key criteria like configuration items for the specific services, or knowledge articles attached on what actually resolved the issue. So we could work our way backwards from the knowledge article and the configuration item, and using a combination of both, we're able to still do that. And all of this, again, is either been built into our ticketing tool itself, or we just dump it out into Excel, and we have a couple of formulae that we run to get the insights that we want.
Okay, we're sort of jumping back and forth between topics here, but Lynn has asked, so with your surveys with the smiley faces, you said that it registers whatever face they click, and then they have the opportunity to fill out any more information. Lynn has asked, do you invite comments, so like a free-form answer box, and if so, how do you analyze these?
Yeah, so there's a sentiment analysis tool available called Watson Explorer Semantic Analysis. We plug in this unstructured comments field into that, and it picks up the mood for the user. So we're able to figure out whether it's happy or, like, a sad comment that's come through. And for those specific ones which haven't returned positively, we have a quality engineering team who looks into those specific issues and go as far as, even speaking to the clients to understand, like, what exactly caused the problems, and drive that back into our feedback cycle.
Okay, we have a question from James, and it says, did you face any problems with data validation in terms of tickets being coded incorrectly for different services, etc.? Was this a problem, and how did you address it?
Yeah, it was initially. Like I said, when we started off, a lot of our data was unstructured, but we revamped our ticket quality analysis sheet. So we have our quality team who does audits on randomly sampled data. So we increased the sample size for each service desk agent. And at the same time, we added in specific fields in the audit sheet to reflect information that we actually wanted mandatorily captured into the tickets. That helped a lot in terms of cleansing the data that came through as well.
Okay, fantastic. That looks like all the questions that we've received. If you have any others, we have a little bit of time left, but if no more comes through, Annie, it's been brilliant to hear from you today. Thank you for answering so many questions. And I hope you have a fantastic day. If anyone does have any questions when we move on, is there a way for anyone to contact you?
Yeah, they can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I'm happy to give the link to my profile as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Annie. So we do have a little bit of time before our next speaker, but our next speaker is Dean Underwood from Sophos, who'll be discussing